Day one of alcohol and cocaine withdrawals. I was a raging alcoholic cocaine addict. I was drinking 2 to 3/5 of vodka a day. I was doing 1 to 2 8 balls of cocaine a day, and I quit both at the same time. 7/25 is my sobriety date, and that date was a fucking nightmare. And I want to share with you what day one was like, what I experienced during day one. That it is important, man. If you're out there struggling, when you make that decision, you will fight through hell to reach heaven. Believe me on that. And it was worth it. So this is my experience of what everything I experienced going through alcohol and cocaine withdrawals at the same time, my day one of my sobriety. If you're new to the channel, hit the like and subscribe button. What's up, guys? My name is Eric, and I'm a recovering cocaine and alcoholic addict. I was drinking 2 to 3/5 of vodka a day, 1 to 2 8 balls of coke a day. I've been diagnosed with ADHD, PTSD, GAD, and MDD. Those are my diagnoses. I lost a wife and a father to suicide. I've attempted suicide. I used to self-harm. I've been diagnosed with level 1 autism. And again, even my diagnoses of ADHD, PTSD, GAD, and MDD, those diagnoses don't define me, but I believe a lot of my addiction was to self-medicate, especially through the suicides and everything I went through, the abandonment trauma, everything that I've dealt with. Addiction was a way to dictate it. And so I was at the peak of my addiction. I was doing 1 to 2 8 balls of coke a day. I literally just couldn't stop. I was a vacuum. I was going line after line. I mean, I would go through an 8 ball of coke by about noon, 1 o'clock. And I would start on my second 8 ball. And by that time I was already 1/5, 2/5 in. Just an absolute train wreck. I tweak or sleep for a little bit, wake back up from this nap that I took, and go right back at it again. And I ended up having a mental breakdown. Essentially, I lost a phenomenal job. I lost everything. I was cheating on my wife. I was doing so much just train wreck of my life that 7/24/17, I was high. I was drunk in bed, just bawling and sobbing of how do I change this shit? Why does this happen to me? Why I was playing the victim. Why me? Bullshit. And I finally realized that, the reason that this is all happening is because of my addiction. And so I decided to get sober. And so 7/25/17 was my first day of sobriety. And it was a nightmare. When I woke up in a pool of sweat. I don't know if that was just from me shaking and just all the emotions and everything. But I woke up and I just felt like gross and just disgusting. And all of a sudden now I didn't have a job anymore, and it was like 8 o'clock and I start shaking because I should have had alcohol in my system already by then. I started shaking. I felt like I wanted to vomit. I could feel my whole stomach tighten up. Normally I use the bathroom every morning. I couldn't use the bathroom that morning. Just shaking. Didn't have a headache or anything, completely dry mouth. I'm trying to drink water and just like choking as I'm trying to like chug the water, and my body's like rejecting it, wanting alcohol. And like my whole nose and everything is still just caked up and dried up from the day before. And I'm trying to blow it out because I'm like, okay, this is my day one of sobriety. I know there's some up here, and I just blowing my nose out. And finally, I knew I had to eat, so I ended up getting some food in me. And that whole day, the whole morning, it was restless legs. I felt like my legs were moving nonstop, hot and cold flashes all day, just shivering to the point where I'm freezing cold, but then all of a sudden I would put a blanket on and I would just start dripping sweat. And I just remember the body aches and the body pains and just trying to go to the bathroom, like feeling so constipated, not hungry, but like my stomach is in a million different fucking knots, and like my heart, like just going, fuck, man, what is going on? Like, I could stop all this right now. And I'm like, no. And I was almost like I started to thrive on day one, especially just because you're so motivated on, I can power through this. And man, I started just making a lot of phone calls. I didn't know what I was doing, just telling everybody I'm an addict. I need help. I'm an addict. And started talking to people, and everybody's saying, hey, go to AA, go to NA. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, dude. You don't understand. And I don't even know if I went to the bathroom. I don't think I went to the bathroom at all until like maybe day 3 of going through all this and like just trying to force food down. It was amazing how hard it was to force food down, and just how much like my pits were just sweating. I was just sweating. My shirt was just drenched, and my whole body just ached. And it was these shakes. The worst part is trying to grab things and you're shaking, or you have something in your hand and you're shaking. I mean, that's how bad these withdrawals are. I'm sitting there fucking shaking, and you're trying to eat food, and you can't eat on a fork because it falls off the fork. So you're you're like shoveling it into your mouth and you're putting stuff into bowls. I mean, this is what day one was like. And I didn't even know that alcohol withdrawals were as deadly as they were. Because if I did, especially drinking the volume that I did, I would have went to a rehab center to like get help. Because I didn't realize that this is something that shuts down your central nervous system. You just die, and I'm grateful I'm still standing. I don't know how I am. And I just remember shaking, and everybody was so pissed at me. And so it was just such a mental brain fuck of like, you're fighting through this. You feel no one understands. I couldn't emotionally even break down. I'd have tears dripping down, and I'm trying to talk to everybody, and they're like, yeah, we knew you were an addict, dude. So what are you going to do about it? And I'm like, fuck, man, you don't understand, dude. Day one today. And everyone's like, yeah, that's going to last for a while. And then you're going to relapse. And it was so much negativity getting hit with me on day one, but also positivity. And all I remember is like latching onto the positive people, like, hey, all right, let's go at it, dude. You can do it. And I started cutting out a lot of those negative people right away. And I remember just the disgust, though, in so many people's faces, and not in their faces. I mean, I could envision what their faces looked like, but in their voices when I was on the phone with them, telling them that I'm an addict and I have a problem and I'm trying to get sober, feeling that they don't understand me, and I'm felt alone. And this is why I think it's so important that you do go to NA or AA. You go to a program, you get support where like you don't feel alone, because that's the biggest nightmare of this addiction of when you're kicking it and going through those withdrawals. When you're in the bathroom trying to throw up, but you can't throw up, and you know you need to eat, but you want to throw up, and your whole body is just shaking around this toilet, and you're like sobbing, and you're like fake crying, just trying to get emotions out. Like it's like you're trying to vomit out the addiction and the emotions at the same time, and they don't come out. Just feeling alone, and people are just like, this is disgusting. I mean, I remember my wife and other family members just thinking that this is gross, and like, you can do it. And I'm just like, God, you don't understand. But a lot of people do understand, and that's when you're going through it. I mean, day one was an absolute nightmare of just everything in my body shutting down and not working how it should have. There's so many times I thought I pissed my pants, and I didn't piss my pants. But making it to the bathroom and trying to pee, and then just continually trying to drink and keep food. I mean, I was just eating bread to try and get like substance in my stomach. It wasn't for a little while until I really started like eating meals. I started just end up like coffee, and I was like, I have to form a routine because I can't go through this every single day. And that's the whole thing, is routines do become very, very helpful later on in your sobriety and in your recovery. It's something to kind of latch onto, to find substance with, so that you don't give up and that you don't break through the withdrawal. But day one is a nightmare, but it's also like this rebirth, because you're so motivated at that time. And believe me, it wasn't until months later that I really struggled with my sobriety and almost relapsed, because at first you're so headstrong on thriving on that pain, almost of like, I got to get sober, until it really sets in and your body starts to withdraw and want it. Or the first time you see it, that obsession just triggers right back up, and it's like just a train that just starts back up and just starts going again, and it doesn't stop. But it is a fight, and you can do it. I mean, again, I've been sober since 7/25/17, and I share my story for anybody going through it, to know that you're not alone, to know that what you're going through does get easier, does get better, that you are worth it, to not give up. Hit the like and subscribe button. I'd love to have you along, and have you share down in the comments for anybody going through it, to know that they're not alone, to know that what they're going through does get better, that it is one day at a time. Sometimes it's a minute at a minute, and an hour, and eventually you look back and you're like, man, I'm doing it. And to always keep it in check, to always know that those demons are there, but you have them under control, and to not lose control of them. So if you are struggling, I got links down below to NA and AA. Click the like and follow button. And you know what? You got this. For the one out there struggling right now, I believe in you. I've been there, and it will get better. Promise.